Hey y'all, welcome back. My name's Katie, this is Dark Side of the Truth, and we're now friends.
Did we just become best friends? Yup!
What if I told you that the United States government, using NASA's money of course, ran a secret program to teach dolphins to speak English? Yeah, you heard me right. And that a 23-year-old woman with zero scientific credentials moved into a flooded house and lived with one of those dolphins for months. And on top of that, the whole thing was happening because they wanted to practice communicating with extraterrestrial life. And that when all of that fell apart, one of those dolphins made a decision that nobody in the government has ever once been held accountable for. Would you believe me? Probably not, because I almost don't believe myself. But that story is like 100% real, and it's fully documented. And almost nobody knows that it exists. So today, we are going to get into all of it. But first, we need to talk about Gerald. But as you know, before we can talk about Gerald the dolphin, we have to give a quick disclaimer. Everything in this video is presented for entertainment and educational purposes only. All opinions are my own. I do my best to research and verify everything that I bring to this channel, but I am not perfect. I'm not a lawyer or a government official by any means. I'm just a girl on the internet who probably asks way too many questions. I always encourage you to do your own research and draw your own conclusions. And any clips used in this video are used under fair use for commentary and educational purposes and entertainment purposes only. Okay, now with that being said, let's get into it. Roll the intro.
They live, we sleep, the alarms going off, beep beep. Time to wake up to the deceit. Our whole reality's made up by the elite.
Okay, so real shit, I don't even know how to start this one because the story I'm about to tell you is genuinely so insane that I debated whether or not I even wanted to cover it. Not because it's too dark. I think y'all know at this point that there's nothing that's too dark for us to cover on this channel, at least for the right reasons anyway. But I was kind of nervous to cover this topic because I was kind of worried that nobody would believe me. The story is just that out there. But before we get into that story in particular, we have to first talk about Gerald. I'm sure you have seen the posts about Gerald the dolphin. I can almost guarantee you have. It has been everywhere lately. If by some freak chance you missed it, allow me to catch you up. Because this is important context for what we're about to get into. So recently, within the past couple weeks, a story began circulating very heavily on social media. This story was about a man named Ricky James Hollowell. And according to this story, Ricky was found wandering on a beach in Lee County, Florida. He was barefoot and severely sunburned, wearing nothing but his swim trunks. According to this story, he had been missing for 3 days when the authorities finally found him. And Ricky told them that he had been taken. Now get this. Ricky said he was taken, wait for it, by dolphins. I shit you not. Okay, just stay with me. Just hold on a second. According to Ricky, a group of dolphins approached him while he was in the water, or the ocean, obviously, and then surrounded him and essentially escorted him, or, forced him, whichever one you want to go with, underwater, bringing him to a site that was approximately 40 feet below the surface, where, according to Ricky, there was an active underwater construction project happening. And running that construction project was a dolphin named Gerald. Gerald, according to Ricky, was the dolphin foreman, and Gerald was in charge, essentially. Ricky says that he spent 3 full days underwater helping Gerald and his, dolphin construction crew build something. Now, it's not entirely clear, what they were building, but Ricky claims that he was a part of it. Now, of course, the obvious question is, Ricky, my guy, how did you breathe underwater for 3 days? Are you sure you're not, hallucinating on some type of substances? Okay, but Ricky's answer, I, really need you to hear this. Ricky's answer was, Gerald handled that. I didn't ask questions. You don't question Gerald. You don't question Gerald. A fucking dolphin foreman. I don't know about y'all, but that response alone sent me into a full-blown spiral. Because, the confidence of that statement, the absolute unbothered energy that Ricky had when he said that, Like, I don't know how I breathed. Gerald sorted it out. Let's move on to the next question. Like, why are you so fascinated by this? Gerald took care of it, dog. Duh. I can't. Like, he's either completely cuckoo bonkers, or he's a man who's been fundamentally changed by whatever he experienced under the ocean with those dolphins, okay? And according to Ricky in this story, Ricky came back from the ocean different. According to internet theorists, Ricky has seen things, okay? And as you guessed it, people lost it over this story. It went massively viral, like massively. Memes everywhere. And Gerald became like a whole personality, at least online. There were even people writing Gerald fan fiction stories. Like, I seriously saw somebody put Gerald on a motivational poster. Quote, "You don't question Gerald" became like a life philosophy for internet theorists. And like, honestly, I'm not even mad at it. The story spread so fast and so far that eventually, and like, this is my favorite part of this whole thing, the Lee County Sheriff's Office had to put out an official statement regarding this issue. The actual Sheriff's Department had to address Gerald the Dolphin construction foreman. I just need that to like sit in your head for a minute, okay? Because I can't. Like, on an official letterhead. It is truly insane. We live in one of the most unhinged timelines. It's like the shit that we hear about and talk about, no way you would believe it unless you were around to see it. It's like, yeah, of course that would happen in 2026. I would expect nothing else. Now, just in like honor of full transparency per usual, the Lee County Sheriff's Office has came out and said that the story is satire. They claim that it originated from a Facebook humor page, and that like Ricky isn't real, Gerald isn't real, and nobody needs to go looking for an underwater construction site off the coast of Florida. Apparently, according to the Lee County Sheriff's Office, that's exactly what people have been doing. They've been showing up like off the coast of Florida with their boats and like going underwater and like trying to find Gerald. And look, a lot of people took that at face value and just like simply moved on. Fair enough. But not everyone. Because there is one very vocal corner of the internet that is not buying that satire explanation for one single second.
Florida man claims to have been kidnapped by dolphins and forced to build an underwater city. The man was found early Monday morning on the side of a beach in Lee County, soaking wet, dehydrated, and confused. When deputies arrived, he was drawing detailed diagrams in the sand. According to the man, a pod of dolphins took him while he was swimming and brought him to a place about 40 feet under the surface. He said they forced him to help build underwater structures. He told deputies the dolphins communicated with him using clicks. He said the group had a leader named Gerald who somehow helped him breathe underwater, possibly by creating an airspace. The man spent 3 days working on what he described as cities, towns, and condo-like structures. When the dolphins were satisfied with his work, they sent him back to the surface and told him they would return for phase 2. Medical staff treated him for dehydration, but found no signs of head injury or mental confusion. Tests showed seawater and marine particles in his lungs, suggesting he had been deep underwater for a long time without typical lung damage. This was unusual and raised questions for doctors. The man holds a master's degree in aerospace engineering.
I keep telling you, these people are lying to us about dolphins. These people are lying to us about mermaids. There is a reason why it is illegal to speak to dolphins. So a man in Fort Myers, Florida said he was kidnapped by dolphins. You heard what I just said? A man in Fort Myers, Florida was kidnapped by dolphins. This man said that these dolphins took him underwater. This man said that these dolphins were gonna have him build an underwater city. Now we're gonna say allegedly. This man was found sunburned and disoriented. They're saying that when they found him, he was drawing blueprints of what these dolphins had him building in the sand. This man was gone for 3 days. Mind you, the details he told about that underwater city is crazy. Every question they asked this man about the situation, he answered. Asked this man, how did he breathe underwater? He told them that. They asked this man, how did he communicate? He told them that. And as far-fetched as this sounds, this don't sound far-fetched at all. There are stories where people say mermaids, mermen have taken them underwater to the same type of underwater cities. Just like in the video I said before, when they're taken underwater, they're taken to be a slave. This man said the same thing about these dolphins. Then you got to jump down the dolphin rabbit hole. Again, why is it illegal for us to speak to dolphins? What do dolphins know that they don't want us to know? This man said that these dolphins released him and let him go because he did exactly what they wanted him to do. But they will be back because they just might need him to do more things. Y'all better pay attention. Stay away from the water.
So in 2009 and 2016, we learned that octopuses had built 2 cities off various coasts. One in 2009 was named Octopolis. One in 2016 was called Atlantis. Then this week, news broke that a Florida man claims that he was kidnapped by dolphins and forced to build an underwater city. He says that the leader of the dolphins was a dolphin named Gerald. Interesting name for a dolphin. And they were releasing him, but they were going to come back for phase 2. Now, authorities are saying that this was all a hoax and it started off as satire. However, I call bullshit because I ain't believing a single thing that authorities or this government are going to say. They also believe that Israel is a moral army, and we know that's all fake. So, yeah, octopuses and dolphins are all becoming sentient. I mean, they've always been sentient, but you know what I mean. They're coming for us. Ever seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Could be real.
Internet theorists have been circulating a very different take on the Gerald situation. Now, I'm not here claiming that they're right, but I'm not really saying that they're wrong either. I just wanted to present what was out there because it matters. And I think that you all deserve to hear it and then just make up your own mind, per usual. So, according to theorists that are circulating posts and videos online, Gerald, the dolphin, and the dolphin construction foreman is real. The story is real, and the reason that it got labeled as satire so fast is because the government, specifically the United States government, needed it to go away. Their argument? Well, it's the usual one. Dolphins are far more intelligent than we have ever been officially told. And the government has known about the intelligence of dolphins for a very long time, which is exactly why theorists claim that it is now a federal crime for any of us to interact with or try to attempt to communicate with a wild dolphin, simply because they don't want us finding out what dolphins are actually capable of. They don't want us making contact, and they don't want another Gerald situation. Now, this on its own, at face value, just sounds like a crazy internet theory, I'll give you that. But then people started posting videos. And these videos allegedly show helicopters flying unusually low over the water in the area where Ricky claimed that his encounter with Gerald and his construction dolphin crew took place. And they're not just passing through. They're hovering, investigating, they were looking for something or checking on something. I've seen those videos. I'm sure you have too. But just in case you haven't, here they are. Decide for yourself.
The government is trying to hide the fact that Gerald the dolphin does exist and did kidnap that man. This is the most insane thing I've ever said. A lot of people from Lee County, Florida are sending me videos of the area where it allegedly happened. And I grew up in Florida, so I understand crazy is crazy because I saw crazy when I lived there, and crazy is crazy. And there are helicopters landing on islands, there are FBI agents, there are a lot of people investigating the situation. I once had a conversation with a manatee, but it didn't try to kidnap me. Now, why would there be government officials investigating a situation if it wasn't real? How many licks does it take till you get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know. Gerald the dolphin is real, and they're getting ready for phase 2. Inquisitive minds just want to know, how are they going to find him for phase 2 unless he goes back to the beach? I need to book a trip to Florida. Not laughing through this entire video was a challenge.
Gerald the dolphin really did abduct that man, and I don't care what anybody says. Now, this whole situation has blown up about the Florida man that claimed he was abducted by a pod of dolphins, and the lead dolphin name was Gerald, and they forced him to build this underwater city. People think it's absolutely crazy, but it's actually not. Now, if he said any other type of animal, maybe I would have been but the fact that he specifically said these dolphins, now dolphins are literally one of the most intelligent animals in the world. And I've actually seen videos on TikTok where people that were staying near where the, so-called abduction took place, where there were planes and helicopters floating, flying by really low, observing the area, which is very weird because if it was such a hoax and, so made up, why would they be doing that? But I don't think people realize how, unique dolphins are. Dolphins used to literally help women give birth, like painless birth back in the day. It is literally illegal to communicate with them. And it is said the dolphins literally, know ancient secrets. That's one of the main reasons they don't want us communicating with these dolphins, because they don't want us to know that they're in cahoots with all these other species and, extraterrestrial stuff. Not even long ago, the government literally came out with a press conference saying that there are literally aliens in flying saucers, UAPs, or another word for UFOs, in these different spacecrafts in the ocean. Now, the dolphins live in the ocean. They know everything. Mermaids are said to be in cahoots with dolphins. If you see dolphins, 9 times out of 10, they have a mermaid friend. But this whole thing, people are like making it into a joke, which is hilarious, all the memes. But I really, really do believe like everything this man said, and now they're trying to make everything seem like it was just this big made up story. But no, there's even been said that like different Navy like teams use dolphins like to help them. Like, it is crazy. Like, these are very smart, intelligent creatures. I don't put anything past them. Now let me know what y'all think about this, because this whole Gerald the Dolphin situation has literally blew up.
So drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Are those just regular helicopters, or is there something more to them? But it doesn't really stop there, because here's the part that honestly kind of made my jaw drop. Because theorists aren't just claiming that the government showed up to investigate. They're claiming that the government retaliated in typical government terms, or, typical government, moves. That's what they do. According to posts circulating online, since Ricky's story went like uber viral, at least 12 dolphins have been found deceased in that same area. Now, theorists are not just chalking this up to a coincidence. They are claiming that those 12 dolphins were members of Gerald's crew, unalived allegedly as a message. A very deliberate, very cold message directly to Gerald that goes something like this. We told you to stay away from humanity. This is what happens when you don't listen.
So now you're telling me that over a dozen bottlenose dolphins like Gerald have now just washed ashore since you and I have been talking about Gerald. The government does not want you to know that Gerald is real. So to make sure you don't know about him, they're just all of them in Florida. Yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, and you can Google it, you can research it, you can go to the Florida news. Over dozens of dolphins, bottlenose dolphins like Gerald, are now just washing ashore. They're just showing up on the shore. And they're honestly trying to say it might be disease outbreak or environmental stress. You think? This one takes the cake. Food supply is diminishing. But this is the one. Human-related issues. Yeah, humans are them. As a person who grew up in Sarasota, Florida with dolphins and manatees, dolphins, especially a dozen of them, don't just wash up on a shore where stories have been told. That doesn't happen unless someone is making that happen. I wish to God that what I was telling you was fake. It was made up, but it's not. They are dying. Dolphins are showing up in Florida now. Isn't it ironic? No, it's not. Since you and I have talked about Gerald in March, over 20 bottlenose dolphins are dead now.
I knew it. I knew it. That Florida man that said he was kidnapped by dolphins was telling the truth this whole time. He was telling the truth but because he was telling the truth, them dolphins broke a law that the dolphins shouldn't have did. Dolphins cannot be kidnapping people. So as a result of that, they 44 dolphins. That's the only explanation to why 44 dolphins will appear on shore after all this happened. 44 dolphins to basically set an example like, this shit can't happen no more. This shit can't happen. No, from what I'm hearing, it's Gerald the Dolphin. They saying it's Gerald the mother dolphin homies. It ain't Gerald the Dolphin itself, but they saying it's his homies. They sending a message like, send this message back to your boss, your leader. Then they say, matter of fact, this gonna be the lesson. Unalive 44 of them. Unalive. That man was telling the truth this whole time, and y'all ain't want to believe it. A lot of y'all was saying, no, he just lied because he was outside cheating. Y'all said that man was outside cheating. No, he was kidnapped by dolphins and forced to build a mother city underwater at that. That man was kidnapped and taken underwater. to build a city.
Now, while like 98% of me does obviously understand that this is probably satire, I'd be lying to you if I said there wasn't like a 2% part of me that like kind of wanted this to be true. Right? Like, come on, a girl can dream. I'm just telling you what is being claimed online. And I'm telling you that I have seen the videos that people are posting to like allegedly back it up. And you already know that I'm going to put them here so you can draw your own conclusions. So check them out.
I'm telling y'all right now, something ain't right. You guys already know we have been covering this story to date. We already know that the Dolphins, after the whole Gerald thing happened, right? But everybody's talking about he's crazy. The news came out talking about, it was all a hoax. Whenever the news says it's a hoax, I don't believe it. It's true, isn't it? And then y'all, I told you that the U.S. trained dolphins in the Vietnam War to sniff out bombs at the bottom of the ocean, trained dolphins to literally arrest people underwater. But wait a second, y'all. You know I don't believe in coincidences. Why is it that the specific type of dolphin that was trained by the U.S. Navy, documented, was the bottlenose dolphin? What type of dolphins did that Florida man say kidnapped him? Bottlenose dolphins, very specific. What kind of dolphins are washing up on the shore again? Bottlenose dolphins, bruh. You know what? Listen, I feel like after COVID, we all just kind of lost our marbles and we all just kind of were like, you know what? Anything is possible. Because if you told me in 2020 that it will be 2026 and I will be believing that a man got kidnapped by dolphins and now they taking them out one by one, it's either the humans are doing it or Gerald got caught up. Gerald and everybody that went along with Gerald, they getting got. But yeah, y'all, this is crazy. Y'all have been wanting me to talk about Atlantis. Oh my gosh. So I used to think Atlantis, personally, because of the Aquaman 2 movie where it literally shows Atlantis as being an advanced civilization, and because there is waters above and waters below according to the Bible, I'm like, what if Atlantis was real but it's not what we thought? Like, we were Atlantis for real during the days of Noah, because there were waters above and it was an advanced civilization. But y'all, now, after me finding out from the book of Enoch that the sirens are the mortal women that procreated with the fallen angels and were cursed to the sea by God, shoot, I mean, hey, maybe there is Atlantis actually under our water. There is a mega ocean under our ocean connecting all the water and I don't know. At this point, I don't know. My mind is reeling.
Ever since that white boy went to jail for talking to dolphins, I wouldn't have believed it if they didn't take him to jail and then almost 40 damn dolphins. How the f would y'all know he actually talked to dolphins to arrest him for talking to dolphins if you didn't see the shit? You know he talked to them, and that's why he's locked up. So I started to deep dive because I got a fucking brain and I use it. So I asked, why is it illegal to communicate with dolphins? Many people believe dolphins aren't just animals, but highly evolved spiritual gatekeepers or extraterrestrial consciousness living in our oceans. They suggest that dolphins and whales are actually starseeds from the Sirius B star. That's one thing about them Africans. They know about them stars and don't nobody got a damn telescope. That's what me up. They don't even got shoes on. They know how far a star is and the name of it. Here go another reason why we can't talk to them, y'all. There's a widespread belief in the New Age community that dolphin echolocation has a physical and spiritual effect on human DNA. Some esoteric historians, esoteric means only like a specific group of people know this knowledge. Esoteric historians believe dolphins are the descendants or spiritual successors of a lost civilization of Lemuria. Lemurians were supposedly highly telepathic and lived in total harmony with nature. These guys. As their continent sank, they transferred their consciousness into the kingdom of the dolphins and whales to preserve their wisdom until humanity was evolved enough to communicate again. Evolved enough? How the fuck we supposed to evolve when they got us on Chat GPT? We're not gonna evolve because guess what, dolphins? They doing our mind. They got us drinking fluoride every day, calcifying our pineal gland. They us up, so we can't click with y'all. We can't click and do all the clicking and do all that cool and all that. We don't go to jail, we talk to y'all. And I ask, why do they use dolphins to help women give birth to a baby? Sonic scanning. The most common belief is that dolphins use their echolocation or their sonar to scan the mother and the unborn baby. Believers say dolphins are naturally attracted to high frequency vibrations of the fetal heartbeat. If a pregnant lady get in the ocean and dolphins start swarming her ass, that's them dolphins baby now. They the daddy now. They claim the dolphin sonar can detect complications or even help retune the baby's nervous system during the stress of labor. Motherfuckers. And before I close out, I just want y'all to know that dolphins are essentially the aliens of the ocean. Their intelligence is so sophisticated and different from ours. Many scientists argue that they should legally be classified as non-human persons. Long live Gerald, man. Free that white man. Them mother stole him and they did make him build a condo.
So is it like completely insane and just like a really out there internet theory that doesn't have any real life backing? Or is it something genuine based on like maybe historical background? As of this point in the video, I'll go with I don't really know. However, here is what I will say. Whether you think Gerald is satire, or whether you think that there's something more to it, what I'm about to show you proves beyond any doubt that the United States government has a very long, very detailed, and very disturbing history with dolphins. A history that they have never been particularly eager to talk about. And a history that, just like so many other things on this channel, is somehow so much worse than the story that originally went viral. So regardless of where you stand on Gerald, that's kind of irrelevant for where we're going. So let's take a step back from the Gerald situation and instead consider this. What if I told you that I have proof that NASA and the US government ran a secret dolphin program that makes anything that Gerald allegedly did look like a normal fucking Tuesday? Would you believe me? Because I do, my friends. And we absolutely need to talk about it. Because while I was down a Gerald rabbit hole this week, feeling my dreams slowly die as I saw that some people were claiming that it may just be satire, I stumbled onto something else entirely. A real story. A documented, verified, this actually frickin' happened story that the United States government tried very hard to make sure that you never heard about. So you already know that I have to go out of my way to make sure you do hear about it. I'm just saying. But I need you to understand one thing before we go any further. This real story genuinely makes the Gerald situation look completely normal. Because this real story involves NASA, just because, like, you know, of course it does, right? The CIA, again, because of course it does. LSD, Carl Sagan, a woman who literally moved in with a dolphin, a secret society of scientists, and a government program designed to teach dolphins to speak English. And not just for funsies, or not just for science either, but so that we could eventually use what we learned to communicate with, quote, extraterrestrial life. Yeah, you heard me right. And at the end of it all, a dolphin made a choice. A conscious, deliberate, final choice that I think should be talked about way more than it is. This is a real thing that happened. A documented part of our history with real government money. And we are going to get into every single detail of it today. So get comfortable and grab your snacks because we are going deep. Pun abso-frickin-lutely intended. To understand how we got here, we need to first meet the man who started all of this. His name was Dr. John C. Lilly. And I need you to know up front, this was not just some like random conspiracy theorist operating out of his mom's basement. At least not in the beginning. John Lilly was a physician, a neuroscientist, a psychoanalyst, and by basically every measure, one of the most legitimate and respected scientists of his generation. Now, does that mean he's like a honest to God, he's so smart scientist, or like a satanic scientist and they just give him that title because that's what they do? Who knows? You can be the judge. But he had credentials coming out of his fucking ears, okay? And according to history, he did real, serious, peer-reviewed research at the National Institute of Mental Health, which, mind you, is a government agency. I'm just gonna point that out. His colleagues were Nobel Prize winners, and he published 19 books himself. So according to history, this man was legit.
Dr. John C. Lilly was never a man who stayed inside the lines. A neuroscientist, once trusted by the National Institutes of Health, he began as a respected researcher studying the brain, human behavior, even dolphins. But then he made a choice that separated him from the rest. Instead of keeping his focus on the lab, he turned his tools inward, into the hidden space of the human mind. That decision changed everything. What he reported back no longer sounded like science. It sounded like something far stranger, as if he had stepped beyond reality itself. Lilly became known for a single maxim that summed up his years of exploration. In the province of the mind, what one believes to be true either is true or becomes true.
Oh, and very important point, he's the one who invented the isolation tank. You know, those like sensory deprivation float tanks that like Elle goes in from Stranger Things, right? Also, the ones that wellness influencers are obsessed with. The one Joe Rogan won't shut up about. Well, John Lilly invented those in 1954 for the government. Yeah. So that's his, and he's clearly deeply involved with the government.
Yeah, he invented the isolation goon tank.
Oh, right? Yeah. Oh,
you go in there and goon, it's like you're in space, dude.
My friend actually went in his tank.
The isolation tank that he designed was like originally designed and used to study the human brain and like what it does when it's completely cut off from the outside world. No sound, no light, just floating in warm salt water. Total sensory deprivation. What he found was that the brain didn't just go quiet. It actually gets louder. It creates its own experiences. It hallucinates. It travels. And it does things that nobody expected it to do. And that discovery sent John Lilly down a path that really he never came back from.
And I immediately found that this was a doorway. This was not an isolation tank. That's a cover story. It is really a doorway into the universe. It allows one to escape one's body. One's soul can leave, and one can clean one's karma from one's soul and become true spirit.
If you want to have a mind-opening experience where you start hallucinating, but you don't want to take anything crazy, you don't want to do anything crazy like go to a shaman, try something called the sensory deprivation tank, the isolation tank, where it's just you and the tank by yourself. The first time I did this, bro, I felt like Neo when he woke up in the Matrix. Look up sensory deprivation and you might find a bunch in your area. So once you get to the sensory deprivation tank, you shut this door, you won't be able to see anything. The water is the same temperature as your blood, so you won't be able to feel anything. So when you start meditating, it's easier for your mind to let go because your body is already disconnected. Now, this water is filled with magnesium salt, which is great for your skin. The first time I did this, I had a little bit in my eye, so it wasn't a pleasant experience, so just be careful. These are all the benefits for the sensory deprivation tank. Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, started using the sensory deprivation tank the same year the Warriors went 73-9. Even The Simpsons talked about this in one of their episodes. Now, to some people, it might be a waste of time, it might be boring, but to other people, it might trigger some hallucinations. Once you get deep in your mind, you may start seeing some stuff when you're inside the tank. Joe Rogan is somebody that's been talking about the sensory deprivation tank for years, and this is what he had to say.
Sensory deprivation tanks or something?
I have one.
That. Oh, you do?
I have one right over here.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. Do you do that regularly?
Yeah.
Do you have hallucinations?
Yeah, definitely.
What? Tell me.
The most extreme one, I was in the jungle, and there was some people that were native to this place. They were dressed in Western clothes, though, like T-shirts and shorts, but they were barefoot, which is often the case, though, unfortunately. A lot of people that live in these indigenous villages, they wear like Under Armour shirts and shit that someone gets them somehow or another, gets down to them. Missionaries maybe sometimes bring them, but they were speaking in a language that I understood, but it wasn't English, and I don't speak anything other than English. And when they were talking, I was listening to them, I was amongst them, and I was listening to them, and they were speaking in this very different language. And then I realized, like, holy shit, I can understand their language, but I realized that in English, and then poof, I popped out of the spell. Like, my freaking out about it brought me, it was all like, no, don't go away, fuck. It's like, it was so extreme. It was so, I could smell the rain. I could feel the moisture in the air. I could see the leaves all around me. I could hear the sounds of the forest. And these people in the rainforest just hanging out, talking this, it was totally uneventful, nothing was happening, but they were talking in this language that I absolutely knew what they were saying. They were going back and forth and communicating, and I was following the conversation in their language, thinking in their language. And then I realized it, and I woke up.
But that is like a matter for a whole nother video. What matters for today is what happened in the mid-1950s when a friend dragged Lilly to Marine Studios in Florida to go look at some dolphins. And the moment that John Lilly examined a dolphin brain, his entire worldview shifted. Here is something that most people genuinely do not know. A dolphin's brain is not just big. It is actually, in many ways, more structurally complex than a human brain. A bottlenose dolphin's brain is actually larger than ours, relative, of course, to the body size. And the cortex, or the part of the brain that's associated with higher thinking, emotion, and self-awareness, in a dolphin is deeply folded, densely packed, and in certain areas, rivals or even surpasses what we see in humans. John Lilly looked at that and thought, there is another intelligent species on this planet, and we are completely ignoring it. He set up a dolphin research facility on the island of St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He started studying them, and then he discovered something wild. Dolphins could mimic the sounds of human speech. Not fluently, and not perfectly, but they could hear a word, process it, and produce something that sounded remarkably like it.
Mama. Yeah. Mama. Mama.
Lilly went on to publish his findings in 1961 in a book called Man and Dolphin, and it instantly became a sensation. And in doing so, caught the attention of some very, very powerful people. All right, now in this story, we're going to cut to October 31st, 1961. It's Halloween night, and 10 of the most d'elite scientists in America quietly gather at a remote radio observatory in Green Bank, West Virginia. This meeting, of course, like many others, was not publicized. But it wasn't exactly secret either. However, nobody was putting together a press release about it, because the topic that they were meeting about was considered so far outside the mainstream that nobody wanted their name attached to it publicly. What were they there to discuss? Well, aliens. Specifically, how do you find intelligent life somewhere else in the universe? And if you do find it, how do you talk to it? Now, let me just tell you who was in that room, because this isn't just a bunch of nobodies. Frank Drake was allegedly there, and he, if you don't know, is the scientist who allegedly created the Drake equation, which is the mathematical formula that scientists still use today to estimate the probability of intelligent life elsewhere in the universe. He was there. Carl Sagan. Yes, that Carl Sagan. Cosmos, pale blue dot, one of the most famous scientists of the entire 20th century. He was also there. Melvin Calvin, a chemist who literally won the Nobel Prize. And not before the meeting either. They actually got a phone call in the middle of the conference telling him that he'd won. And then there was John C. Lilly, sitting in that very room and ready to talk about dolphins, while everyone else was ready to talk about extraterrestrial life. Lilly spent the first full day of this conference talking about dolphin brains, about their complexity, about the recordings that he had of them mimicking human sounds, and about his theory that they might be genuinely intelligent in ways that, we humans hadn't begun to understand. And these men, these Nobel Prize winners, these NASA scientists, and these absolute giants of 20th century science were completely captivated by it, because their logic went like this. If we ever make contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, we're obviously going to need to communicate with a mind that is completely unlike our own. A species with different biology, different senses, and a different understanding of reality itself. So that is going to require skills that we do not currently have. So what if you practiced? What if you treated dolphin communication like a dress rehearsal for alien contact? What if cracking the code of how to talk to dolphins was basically a training exercise for the day that we meet something from another world? They were so fired up about this idea that at the end of the meeting, this group of elite government scientists gave themselves a name. They called themselves, wait for it, the Order of the Dolphins. I fucking shit you not. Y'all, Carl Sagan was a member of a fucking secret society called the Order of the Dolphins. Like, I cannot stress enough to you how real this is. Shortly after that meeting, NASA provided John Lilly with funding to build a brand new, purposefully built dolphin research facility in the Caribbean. The space agency gave a man money to teach dolphins to speak English, so we'd be ready to talk to aliens.
John Lilly, he believed that one day dolphins were going to have a seat in the United Nations. He believed we were going to be able to communicate with dolphins and that dolphins were going to be recognized as water people. He thought they were going to be he thought they were as smart as human beings.
That's amazing.
And that if we could figure out how to communicate with them, they would have the same rights as human beings. Yeah, and guy was a genius.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with him. I think there's just a level of communication. There's a way that they have of communicating that we don't understand, but it's super complex. They have their own dialects. They have this crazy social code. I mean, they have something like incredibly dynamic about their environment and their social groups.
To be able to speak a language, you need to know like 150 words. There was a dolphin that knew like 700 words or 300 words. I don't know, like hundreds of words.
Like commands, 300 human words?
Yeah.
You know how many dolphin words we know? 0.
Yeah, 0.
You know, clue with
yeah,
this.
we have no idea.
Humans and dolphins talk to each other. Before you answer, let me tell you this. Back in the 1950s, there was a neuroscientist that was highly respected. His name was Dr. John C. Lilly. He believed that if humans could talk to dolphins, we would unlock the universe's secrets. He thought interspecies communication was crucial. He even believed that dolphins deserved a seat at the UN. They were that fucking smart. NASA and the U.S. Navy heard this and they were like, oh, hell yeah, sign us up. We want to know more about the dolphins, because they said they were interested in their sonar capabilities. I think it's more about the alien connection, but anyways, they were like, how much money do you need, big guy? And he was like, I need a lot, because I want to build a lab that's underwater so that dolphins and humans can work next to each other at all times. So he got that lab, right? They built it for him.
Now, I want you to keep something in the back of your mind as we go through this story. The government funded all of this. They signed off on everything you're about to hear. Every experiment, every decision, and every consequence. They were the ones writing the checks. Remember that, because it is going to matter at the end. Real quick, I need to tell you where these dolphins actually came from, because this detail kind of broke my brain a little bit. The 3 dolphins that ended up at Lilly's lab, 2 females named Sissy and Pamela, and a young male named Peter, were not wild dolphins who were pulled from the ocean. They were instead the dolphin actors from the TV show Flipper. The Flipper. The classic TV show that generations of kids grew up watching. Those dolphins, after the TV show ended, were used in a government-funded NASA program to learn to speak English so that we, humans, could essentially turn this into knowledge to learn to talk to aliens? Sure, that's their logic, I guess. Like, I just need you to fully understand that and allow that to, like, exist inside your brain space for a second before we move on. 'Cause, like, what? The frickin' Flipper dolphins? Seriously, this was their fate after being on TV? I can't. Now we get to the part of the story where a 23-year-old woman with absolutely 0 scientific credentials accidentally becomes the most important person in this entire experiment. Her name was Margaret Howe. She lived on St. Thomas. And one day her brother-in-law mentioned that there was some kind of secret dolphin lab on the island. And Margaret, who had always been obsessed with animals, just drove over there. Totally unprompted. No appointment, no credentials. She just showed up. Like, hey, here I am. I heard you have dolphins. Can I help? The lab director at that time was Gregory Bateson, and he was a very respected British anthropologist. He sat Margaret down, handed her a notepad, and asked her to observe the dolphins and just take notes. He just kind of wanted to see. Like, for shiggles, right? Couldn't really hurt, so let's see if she can help. And when he read her notes, He was genuinely impressed. Margaret had this instinctive, natural ability to observe and document animal behavior that most formally trained researchers didn't possess. So, therefore, she was invited back. And she slowly became a fixture at the lab. One of, the prime fixtures, actually. She started working primarily with Peter, the young male dolphin, specifically on English lessons. And she felt like they were making real progress. Peter could approximate sounds in ways that resembled words. He was fully engaged and absolutely trying. But Margaret was frustrated because every evening she had to go home. And then every morning they would basically start over, essentially from scratch. She felt like the constant interruption of going home and coming back again was killing their momentum and having a major effect or defect or downfall on the research that they could be conducting. So she went to Dr. Lilly with a proposal. She wanted to flood the upstairs rooms of the lab building with about 2 feet of water, move her bed onto a raised platform above the waterline, hang her desk from a ceiling over the water, and just live there, full time, with Peter, a dolphin roommate. Because, that sounds normal. But get this. Dr. Lilly said, sure, why not? What could go wrong, Margaret? Go ahead, move right in. We'll hang your desk tomorrow. And as crazy as that may sound, that is exactly what happened. By the summer of 1965, Margaret Howe and Peter the Dolphin were cohabitating in a partially flooded house on a Caribbean island. Her bed was elevated above the water. Her typewriter was bolted to a floating desk. She worked, ate, slept, and conducted lessons every single day with her feet dangling in the water while Peter swam. She said later that the unstructured time, the time when they had nothing to do, when they were just hanging out with each other, was when they learned the most about one another. Peter would examine her with pure curiosity, the way that a toddler explores something new. She said that he would stare at the back of her knee for minutes at a time, trying to figure out how it worked, because he, of course, doesn't have knees. She said that she found it genuinely sweet, and Peter was making progress.
Today is August 18. This is the morning lesson with Peter. Hello. Hello. Clearly, Peter. What's on? Come on.
Certain sounds were coming more naturally. He was working on Hello, Margaret over and over. The M sound was almost impossible for him physically, because dolphins aren't built to make that sound without bubbling water through their blowhole. And these scientists wanted him to make that sound without, blowing any water through his blowhole. So he kept trying. Of course, yes, he was trying for fish as the reward, but still, he kept trying.
I didn't talk to Peter the way I talked to you. I spoke in single words usually and made inflection, something that he could follow. That they were very good at. The enunciation was not good. But if I said 1, 2, 3, I wouldn't get 1, 2, 3, but I would get
1, 2, 3.
Hard as Peter tried, there were still some anatomical restrictions that limited his speech.
M is very difficult. My name, Hello, Margaret, I worked on. And M is just impossible. But he eventually rolled over so that it kind of, he would bubble it into the water.
Margaret.
Oh, he just couldn't get it right. And he just would try and he would try. God.
And then puberty showed up and complicated absolutely everything. Obviously puberty for Peter the Dolphin, not Margaret. She's a full-grown woman. But this is also, let me forewarn you, where this story takes a hard turn for, like, the worst, okay? Normally I would say a hard left turn, but, like, this is just for the worst. I'm just gonna call it like it is. Prepare yourselves. So this, my friends, is a part of this story that I have to tell you, because it is, like, definitely why the story was buried, at least in my opinion. And because leaving it out would just be dishonest, and I would never do that to you. So I'm gonna give it to you straight, and just, like, give it to you straight as it is, because that's how Margaret always talked about it. Let me just make it clear, I'm not advertising this behavior as anything that anyone should ever do. Do not recreate this, like, behavior in any scenario whatsoever. Don't do it, okay? I'm not advertising this, please. Let me just, like, make that known for every viewer and for the YouTube algorithm, okay? Everybody needs to know that. Katie is not down with this. Anyways, let's get into it. I can't dance around it forever, so I guess we just gotta go there. Peter was a young dolphin male, and he was going through puberty, as we just mentioned. And as the weeks went on, he started becoming increasingly distracted during his lessons. For any of my guy viewers watching, I'm sure you can understand how this young, adolescent dolphin, Peter, is feeling as he's going through puberty. He would get agitated, he would lose focus, and he would approach Margaret in ways that made it impossible to continue working. Almost like a human living with a dolphin is, not healthy, and they build not healthy relationships. I'm just saying. He probably wouldn't have approached her in that way if he wasn't so dang comfortable with her, but I digress. So the original solution to this problem was to bring him downstairs to the pool where Sissy and Pamela, the other female dolphins, were kept. But that, of course, meant stopping everything, moving him, waiting, and then bringing him back up. And it disrupted the whole flow, which is exactly what Margaret didn't want to happen from the beginning. Remember? She wanted to move in there so she didn't even have to go home at night. She didn't want to interrupt this, flow that they had going together of quote-unquote learning at all. So in typical jealous girlfriend fashion, she said, nah, he ain't going to see them other chicks. Obviously, I'm, improvising and, inferring here, but that's what happened, essentially, okay? So Margaret, being Margaret, came up with a much more practical solution, at least in her mind. And yes, this is going where you think it's going. You're 100% right. She started manually relieving him herself.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Right there in their, flooded house pool.
As long as it wasn't too rough.
In the 1960s, Margaret Lovatt spent months living in a dolphin house as part of a NASA-funded project aimed at teaching English to a dolphin named Peter. The experiment faced controversy because to keep Peter focused, Margaret took it upon herself to relieve him of his natural male urges.
But did you know that a dolphin and a human fell in love back in the 1960s? Yeah, during a NASA study of dolphin to human communications, there was a dolphin named Peter and a human named Margaret. Now, Margaret lived inside the facility where this study was being done, so she lived with Peter 24/7. She was around this dolphin. She said that at some point in time during their language experiments, Peter started getting very excited and was very interested in her body. It was going from 6 to midnight often. So she would put him back in the tank with the female dolphins so that he could get his, he could satisfy himself. He didn't like that. He would rage and try to get out of the tank. Okay, get back to Margaret. So Margaret said she would put him back in the tank with her, and he would rub himself on her feet or her legs or her hands. And she said that he was kind of hard to work with and do the language experiments when he was excited like that. So she would just let him satisfy himself so they could get back to their work. This study was
I told you, I warned you, I can't with this. This is real. This is real. Okay, this is real. And governmentally funded. Let's move on. Anyways, just right there, middle of the tank. Together, the two of them, going at it. She's, stimulating him. Okay, so they could get back to work. This was a, scientific necessity, if you will. She spoke about it publicly, on camera, and somehow without any embarrassment. I don't know how she achieved that, but she did. She said, quote, it was clinical, practical, like scratching an itch so that you could move on. I mean, if that's how you want to phrase it, sure, do you, boo, but I can't. I just can't. But this aspect of, her manually relieving Peter the dolphin, if you will, wasn't hidden. Observers could see it. Like people observing their scientific research, you could go there and watch her do this to him. I shit you not, y'all. Look it up. It was framed as just a part of the daily routine of living with a dolphin in puberty. Which, again, I'm going to say is probably why humans shouldn't live with a dolphin in puberty. But, that's just my opinion. Margaret never framed it as anything other than a decision that she made in service of, quote, the experiment. Okay, whatever you gotta say to sleep at night, Margaret. And it's also a decision that she stood by for the rest of her life. But that detail in particular, in my opinion, is eventually why this story got twisted and then sensationalized. And also why it got buried. So I just had to, tell it to you. I couldn't hide it from you. There's no way. You just had to know that before we went any further. And as crazy as that may be, what was happening in the downstairs lab in that same building at the same exact time was so much more disturbing. I promise you that. No, it didn't involve bestiality, but disturbing nonetheless. So, John C. Lilly, the original doctor who started, this dolphin research, had started using LSD personally in 1964. He was fascinated by what it did to consciousness. He would take it inside of his isolation tanks and describe experiences like traveling through his own brain, leaving his body, and moving through other dimensions entirely. He believed that psychedelics were a legitimate tool for understanding the mind. And, I'm not mad at that part, okay? But then, this is where he took it too far. He started wondering, what would LSD do to a dolphin brain, dude? Because they're so much more advanced than us, right? I bet they'd have such a better trip. I can just imagine him saying it. I don't know why he has that voice, but in my mind he does. Anyways. His theory was that it might open up new communication pathways, make them more receptive in ways, or even more expressive.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So he therefore began injecting Sissy and Pamela, the two female dolphins who were contained in the downstairs lab, with LSD as part of his, quote, experiments.
John C. Lilly decides, what would make these dolphins really talk to me? LSD. So then old John decided to dose himself and the dolphins with this LSD.
John Lilly, who was the guy who actually invented the isolation tank, he was a pioneer in interspecies communication, which it's a weird field. He was a scientist that was also, he took extreme liberties with his scientific research. Took a lot of acid, gave acid to dolphins, did a lot of dolphin research in the flotation tank, did a lot of really, really whack.
Margaret hated it. She was very vocal about it. She thought it was extremely cruel, counterproductive, and completely at odds with what they were trying to accomplish. How are you going to study a dolphin and teach them to speak English if they're tripping on LSD the whole time? Right? It makes sense, okay? Even though Margaret wasn't fully with it, she makes sense on this point. I gotta give it to her. But, as far as I'm concerned, this is a situation where everybody sucks. So Margaret made Dr. Lilly promise not to give it to Peter. And that was a promise that he did end up keeping. But the females weren't so lucky, and they continued getting dosed. And the results were not really what Dr. Lilly had hoped. And by the way, I'm done calling him Dr. Lilly because he doesn't deserve that anymore, so he's just Lilly, okay? Same guy, just no more doctor. Sorry, you gotta act right. You gotta have decency and decorum if you want to be called a doctor. I'm sorry. Anyways, so the results were not what Lilly had hoped for. The LSD made the dolphins more erratic and far more aggressive. And Margaret went on to document that after the injections, their behavior changed in ways that felt wrong. All of a sudden, they were less curious, less communicative, and more unpredictable. And then Carl Sagan, who had been periodically visiting the lab and reporting back to the Order of the Dolphin, that secret society in control of this whole thing, or funding this whole thing, if you will, was starting to quietly pull back. As Lilly got deeper into his LSD experiments and started talking less about rigorous scientific methodology and more about alien dimensions and consciousness, Sagan's interest in his, experiments and what he was doing there began to cool. He just started to be I'm not interested in that stuff. You're kind of going off the deep end and you're sounding a little cuckoo, guy. I'm not with it. I'm not giving you no more money. No money, honey.
You're done. You're done.
Now, at this point in the story, let me ask you something. At any point during any of this, do you think for a single second that anyone at the government stepped in?
Oh, pick me!
Did anyone ever pull funding over the LSD experiments? Did anyone ever even step up and say, this is wrong, stop doing it? Or did anyone face any consequences for what was being done to these animals?
Oh, pick me! Oh, Me!
Now wait, before you can all scream it at once. No, they didn't. Of course not. The checks kept coming. The experiments kept going. The LSD kept being dosed to them. The Dolphins, of course. Who cares what Lilly does? He can do whatever he wants with himself. And nobody was held accountable for anything. Because, of course, that's what happens in these government-funded research programs. Nobody ever is held accountable. It's in the honor of science, don't you know? It's in honor and, search of truth and science. Come on. Some people may be hurt along the way, but it's science, dude. Science. Say science enough times and you'll get away with it. Science, 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 science. Science.
Yes, science!
It's their logic, not mine. So nobody was held accountable for anything, and the government money just kept coming. And this was 100% government funded, NASA funded. You just need to keep that in mind, because it is beyond extremely important as we go forward. By 1966, the funding was completely gone. NASA and other government backers had seen enough. The results just weren't there. The LSD experiments produced nothing useful. The English lessons with Peter had produced impressive mimicry, but nothing that could definitively be called language acquisition. So the lab was ultimately shut down. And Sissy, Pamela, and Peter were relocated to a facility in Miami, a converted bank building, small tanks, no windows, no natural light, no space to move, and no Margaret. Peter fell apart almost immediately. He stopped eating. He became withdrawn, and he stopped engaging. By every account from the people who observed him, he was deeply, visibly depressed. Well, yeah, no kidding. You took away his human love, and then you put him in a dark building. Why couldn't you just release him back to the wild? Or, I mean, you probably couldn't, because he's been, on a TV show set, and, done scientific experiments on. And, maybe, Peter wasn't given LSD, but we know Sissy and Pamela were, so I'm sure you probably couldn't release these poor dolphins back out into the wild, because they probably wouldn't know how to be, wild animals and fend for themselves anymore. But you could have at least, put them into a decent care facility, not inside of an empty, dark, old bank building. What is wrong with people? Dark, no windows. Of course he became depressed. And then, within weeks of being moved to this dark, empty, old bank building, Peter passed away. But he didn't just pass away. I need to be very specific about what that actually means. Because Peter did not just die. Peter didn't get sick, and he didn't have an accident. Peter chose to stop living. It was a choice that he consciously made. Why do I say that? Well, you need to know something about dolphins and their autonomy and how they work, how their body works. Dolphins do not breathe automatically the way that we humans do. Every single breath that a dolphin takes is a conscious, deliberate decision. They are not like us. They cannot zone out and just keep actively breathing on autopilot. They have to actually choose to surface. They have to choose to take their next breath. Rick O'Barry, the man who actually trained the flipper dolphins and then later became one of the world's most prominent dolphin rights advocates, has talked about this particular aspect of a dolphin for decades. When a dolphin's life becomes unbearable, they can simply choose not to take the next breath. They sink down to the bottom, and they just don't come back up. And that is exactly what Peter did.
They were not automatic air breathers like us. If you give me a sedative, I will go to sleep. I'll keep breathing. If you do that with the dolphin, every breath is a conscious effort. How do they sleep? They don't, like we do. They rest. They switch different hemispheres of the brain back and forth and rest, but they don't sleep. Every breath is a conscious effort.
They're never fully unconscious.
No.
The government funded a program that took a highly intelligent, emotionally complex animal, a being capable of forming deep bonds, capable of grief, and capable of making conscious decisions, and they used him. They experimented on his tank mates. They isolated him. They took away the one relationship that mattered more to him than anything else. And they threw him in a dark, windowless, converted bank building with nothing. And Peter took one look at that situation, made a calculation, and decided that he would rather stop existing than spend one more day in it. John Lilly called it self-unaliving, the SU side. And he didn't use this term as like a metaphor. That is the word that he actually used, and he meant it, because that's what Peter did. It was a choice. The government's secret dolphin program ended with a dolphin who chose to unalive himself, and not a single person faced a single consequence for it. Margaret found out and felt very responsible. She believed that the bond that they had formed had made Peter's isolation unbearable in a way that it might not otherwise have been. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I know, genius.
He never got a handy before, I'm just saying. Like, what do you think? Like, of course, you blew his mind. He didn't know what life was. He's like, oh my god, this is the best dolphin wife ever. I can't. This is life, guys. This is real. This is our real history. This is real. I don't care how many times I gotta say it for you to understand. This is real. I can't. I literally can't. Story has it that Margaret stayed on that island where they conducted their research in the Caribbean. She went on to marry the photographer who had documented their research, and they allegedly converted the old dolphin lab into a family home and raised 3 daughters in it. Because I guess, Peter had that big of an effect on her too. Never forget your first love, I guess. I know I'm like trying to make a joke with this because like that's how I deal with something that is this dark. Like, what? I can't. I have to. And I gotta joke through it. I got to. Helps my brain process. Margaret never really did leave the place where she and Peter had lived together in that flooded room for all those months. She never forgot all the time that they spent together trying to understand each other. And personally, since I've heard this story, I think about Peter a lot too. But probably for a very different reason than Margaret does.
Bitch, I see what you did there.
I think about what it means that he made that choice. I think about what that tells us about how much he actually understood. And I think about the fact that the people responsible for that outcome faced absolutely zero accountability. Zero. Per usual, though, right? It's not like I really expected anything else. So here is where this story goes from sad to absolutely infuriating. After all of that, after the secret societies, after the LSD, the experiments on animals, the cover-up, and like even after what Peter did, to himself, mind you, what did the United States government do? Well, they did what they always do. Just 6 years later, in 1972, they passed the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which on its face sounds good, right? But that made it illegal for you to interact with or attempt to communicate with a wild dolphin. Yeah, you heard me right. So let me get this straight. The government funds a secret program to communicate with dolphins because they actually want to learn how to talk to aliens. Instead of like carrying out this already insane research, they then go on to keep these dolphins in captivity. They isolate them. They even cause one of them to make a conscious decision to stop breathing rather than to like keep dealing with them and living under the conditions that they created. They do all of this and face zero consequences. Per usual, right? I think we can all agree on that. And then they turn around and have the fucking audacity to tell you, a regular person, a curious person, maybe someone who just thinks that dolphins are incredible and wants to get a little closer to one, that if you go out there on a kayak and try to simply say hello and wave, that's it, you're done. Prison time, $40,000 in fines. Oh, and by the way, we're taking your kayak. Thanks for playing. Bye-bye. See you later. Like, gee, thanks. Not the narcissist gaslighting us into believing that we're the ones who did this or something, right?
Stop it. Get some help.
Yeah, I can't. Not a single scientist was ever charged. Not a single government official answered for what happened to Peter. Nobody ever spoke up for what Margaret was doing or how they were watching it. And nobody went to prison for dosing dolphins with LSD. Nobody lost their boat or was charged $40,000. They just got their funding quietly cut and then went home, to continue on with their normal lives. But you paddle out there with nothing but good intentions and a fucking wave? You're gone. You're donezo. The government never actually stopped using dolphins themselves. Oh, no. The U.S. Navy has a documented military dolphin program that has been running for decades, training dolphins to locate underwater mines, protecting naval vessels, and using them for, military operations. And that's just what we're told.
Alright, so I was in the Air Force for 10 years. And I worked with the Navy SEALs a couple of times. Who told me about these dolphins that they trained to essentially play capture the flag against. And I was like, whatever, dude. If you know anything about the SEALs, they love to make up these cool, elaborate stories. But then I looked it up, and the Navy has legitimately been training dolphins to do various tasks for quite some time now. It's not new, it's not classified information. You can look it up on Google. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. So, yeah. Long story short, the Navy's using these dolphins to train the SEALs. They guard their ships. They do various tasks, whatever. Well, then I heard about this Gerald story. This dolphin who kidnapped a guy and wanted him to freaking build an underwater city. And at first I was like, haha, that's crazy. And then I got to thinking again. I was like, well, I said that the first time about these dolphins. Now I'm sitting around thinking, dude, what if Gerald is an AWOL Navy dolphin? Gerald got fed up. He went AWOL. He found some dude and was like, that's it. We're building a palace down here. I don't know, dude. I think I'm onto something. Look it up. Look up these Navy dolphins and tell me what you think.
What do you know about our attack dolphins that we have out in the bay?
I know enough. I know guys who were actually the trainers of them, and I'll tell you this story where these things are way smarter than you can imagine. You know, we've all probably been to SeaWorld and you see them jump and you do whatever. So these dolphins and sea animals at the Navy, yes, they have a program where they actually utilize these mammals to do certain attacks. Or
they have guns that are on their beaks, bro. Airsoft guns that fucking shoot bullets out.
Yeah, here's one that hopefully goes viral. So these things, first of all, they're like 6,000 pound, or I'm sorry, 2,000. Imagine a 2,000 pound 6-year-old. That's kind of their mindset. They're smart. They'll do what you want to do, but they have that little attitude. So here's a great story about these animals.
They use them to patrol bays. They use them to they will do more proactive type of training sessions with them, but they use them for SEAL training here in the bay. And when you're going through buds, part of it is they will drop you off in the middle of the night in the San Diego Bay. Okay. And they're teams of 2s, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard this from team guys that are friends of mine. You're tied to your teammate with a wrap or a strobe or whatever it is, a line. And your job is to play hide and go seek from these dolphins. Don't get found by these dolphins. And they attach one of those little glow sticks to the dolphin, right? So you can see the green glow stick as it's blowing by you. Wow. And my buddy's telling me, he's like, we're chilling and we think that we're good. And this green glow stick just goes flying by us, darting by us. But he's like, it keeps going. So we're like, okay, we're good. He was like, this thing circled back around and tagged me so hard in the side of my face. He's like, I had 2 black eyes for 2 weeks from this dolphin just nailing me with its beak. And it's crazy, but you do research. You can find that their pens are right on the side of Point Loma as you're pulling out of the San Diego Bay.
Mm-hmm. The U.S. Navy Marine Mammal Program has 85 bottlenose dolphins and 50 California sea lions on active duty. Their mission? Detect underwater mines, locate enemy divers, guard naval bases. Dolphins use echolocation that's more precise than any sonar system we've built. Sea lions have underwater vision that works in 0 visibility. Where are they deployed? Classified. What missions have they completed? Classified. But we know they were in the Persian Gulf during Iraq, Bahrain Naval Base, and somewhere in the Pacific. The Navy won't say where else, because if you're guarding a critical underwater asset, you don't advertise your sentries, especially when your sentries are mammals with security clearances.
Ever seen a U.S. Navy dolphin in training? Now you have. Fun fact, they use sea lions as well. The U.S. Navy Marine Mammal Program started using dolphins back in 1959. Dolphins are trained to detect and locate underwater mines, enemy swimmers, and much more.
And all of that is fine. That's totally allowed. The government can use dolphins for like whatever and however they want. Don't you know that? They make the rules. Duh. It's just you who can't. You and I, of course. Because the people who drove a dolphin to choose death over living walked away completely free. No crime, no punishment, nothing. But you get too close to one in the open ocean, prison, $40,000, and we're taking your boat. Thanks for playing. It's sick. It's sick. So, wrapping this all up, Gerald the dolphin, Ricky's 3 days of underwater construction. You don't question Gerald. Honestly, it sounds like it's made up, but like if we're being real, so does everything else in this story. But this real story, the one that actually happened and the one that was like governmentally funded, that we've been talking about all video, the one NASA paid for, the one Carl Sagan was personally involved in, is so much stranger, so much darker, and 100% true. So like while that Gerald the dolphin story may be satire, I think it's based on reality. And I think I just proved that it is. And if you go do your own research into our history, you will see for yourself that I am not making up a single part of this video. And in my opinion, I think that this has something to do with why it's illegal to communicate with dolphins. But what do I know? I'll tell you what I do know. I know that a woman actually lived in a flooded house on a Caribbean island. The flipper dolphins were actually getting dosed with LSD after the flipper show and movies ended. And a secret society of delete scientists named after dolphins, the secret order of the dolphins, I gotta say that one more time before we wrap this up, and the largest space agency of our time, NASA, were all involved trying to practice for alien contact by teaching animals to speak English. That is true. I don't care how crazy it sounds, it's factual. And a dolphin who, when it was all over, had nothing left. And he chose to not take his next breath. Peter didn't simply pass away. Peter quit. And I personally think he had every right to. And then the government made it illegal for the rest of us to even try. Not like I would ever want to do anything that they did, because come on, I'm not a sick freak, but we can't even try to communicate with dolphins? Nope. Mm-mm. If you try to disrupt their natural behaviors or natural way of living, that's it, you're donezo. You can do, I forget how long the prison time is, but it's definitely prison time, a $40,000 fine, and they're taking whatever vessel that you use to get out there to try to communicate with the dolphins on. Whatever you use to get out there, it's now theirs. Because they don't want you to do it again. It's insane. And here is the thing that I really just cannot get past. They want us to believe that this research went nowhere. That it was just a bunch of eccentric scientists doing really weird stuff with dolphins, and that nothing really came of it. It was just kind of a everybody's an a-hole situation, and everybody sucks, right? I think we can all agree on that. Margaret's not great, Lily's not great, none of the fucking funding people are great. Anyways, they want us to believe that this research went nowhere, right? That they just pulled the funding and it died there and that's it. It is what it is. But if that is actually true, please explain to me why, just 7 years later, they made it a federal crime for anyone else to even try to communicate with dolphins. Explain to me why the Navy has been using dolphins in active military operations for decades ever since. You don't make something that illegal that fast over research that went nowhere. You make something that illegal because you found something. Allegedly, in my opinion. And that something is probably something that you don't want anyone else to find. So you'd bury the story. You would discredit the scientists. And you would make the whole thing look like a punchline. Because, honestly, it's crazy and it kind of sounds like it could be. And then, 7 years later, you would make sure that nobody else could ever pick up where you left off. Again, all just my opinion, but if that's not the basic groundwork for a cover-up, I genuinely don't know what is.
They banning dolphins cause they know we used to live with them. They heal our bodies with their sonars when you swim with them. Dolphins used to help us birth our babies in the ocean. They send ultrasounds to the womb to keep the baby focused. Their sonar frequency 130 hertz, it come with benefits. It can help brain development and also Parkinson's. They're part of the normals, dolphins are extraterrestrial. They speak to us through telepathy, they're celestial. That's why when dolphins see a person, they be nice to you. If something trying to come and eat you, they will fight for you. Dolphins done say people life, even dogs too. That's why they tryna make it illegal, so they don't talk to you. They can give you knowledge, open your third eye, also heal your body. I'm about to go to the ocean, finna call up all my dolphin army. They in the mermaid family, so I know for a fact they real. Sending off frequencies like sirens, they the real deal. Common facts, if you know for a fact, that's the reason they ban them. You can look this all up, I promise this wasn't random.
But we officially made it to the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for your time. Like, I genuinely appreciate the hell out of you. Do me a favor and drop a comment saying trippin' fins in the comment section, just so I know that you made it all the way into the end of the video. Honestly, I don't think any explanation is needed. I think you'll understand why. Drop a comment with, like, what did you think was the craziest part of all this? And what about the Gerald story? Were you one of the people who believed it? Do you still believe it? Did you think it was satire the whole time? I would love to know. Side note, before we officially end this video, I don't like to ramble at the beginning of the video. I like to kind of just get straight into it. So I'm going to put some rambles here, just 5 minutes of it. If you care and you want to stick around and hear about it, please, by all means, stick around. It's only about 5 minutes. If you don't, skip ahead 5 minutes. That's fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But I promise it's interesting. I wouldn't just ramble about gum getting stuck on the bottom of my shoe. Anywho, I just wanted to come on here and jump in really quick and just update a few things, as I, have covered several conspiracy theories in the past, and I tend to present quote unquote what I believe to be the truth or what several people are saying to be the truth. You guys get it. Anyways, so if I ever notice that I make a mistake or believe that I made a mistake, I always want to jump on here and present it to you. And you know what I mean? I don't want to know that I said something wrong and never come back on here and correct it. I'm so not that type. So when we did the Satan's Little Season investigation, I was certain that these Nephilim, or the giants, were petrified due to the fervent heat when Christ returned at his second coming, right? Anybody who watched my Satan's Little Season video, you will understand that claim that I just made, because that is what I said all throughout both of the videos that I made, because that's what I thought. That's what made sense to me then. However, as we know, 3 things can petrify a body, or, anything, really. Those 3 things being time, water, and fire, right? So, time with the air and just the elements of the atmosphere here on Earth and stuff, time will obviously petrify, any living material over time. So will water, and so will fire. I didn't even consider the time or the water aspects before, because we were talking Satan's Little Season, and it says biblically that he will return with fervent heat. We were talking the rapture already happened, so my mind put it together that boom, that's why they were petrified, was from the fervent heat when Christ returned. That's what made sense. However, after doing this Book of Enoch dive, I have since come to change my stance on this and my opinion on this. Now I believe, based on biblical, timelines and laying everything out biblically for when the Nephilim would have fallen, I now believe, like I stated in my Book of Enoch video, that the giants fell when Gabriel came down and turned their minds against each other and made them, corrupt against each other, and they fought until the ends of them. Basically, they destroyed each other. Then their bodies were laying unalived on the earth. Then the floodwaters came in and petrified them. That is my belief, okay? Doesn't mean it's factual, doesn't mean I'm 100% right. I just gave you my last belief as if it was fact, and I was certain in it. And at that time I was. And now I have since learned new information, so I wanted to correct myself. Also, absolutely has nothing to do with this video, but it's incredible, so I wanted to put it in here. I wanted to show you guys. We were at my mother-in-law's for St. Patrick's Day, just this last St. Patrick's Day. And obviously our whole family was there and stuff. And my brother-in-law was there, and we were talking about all these conspiracies, and we're talking about just everything, right? And we were talking about the holographic sun. We got on the topic of that, and how China launched a fake sun, a LED sun, into their skies a few years ago, and how that was on the news and everybody knew about it. And we were oh, that's how they could have used the opportunity to get the fake sun in the sky. They made it a public launching from China, and then it's just going to orbit the whole world, obviously, right? And we're well, how would it block out the health benefits from the sun? And we're just by covering it, right? It just literally goes right in front of it, and then it literally has the LED lights on one side, and on the back side of it is solar panels, because it's right in front of the sun, and it's getting constantly charged by the sun. This is not factual, YouTube. Okay, this is just my opinion. Let me just state that for shiggles. Why not? Anyways, so that's what we were talking about, how this LED sun is orbiting directly in front of our sun and blocking it to cover all the health benefits and all this stuff, right? Then my brother-in-law turns to me and he's yo, speaking of, you're never going to believe what I captured, what I got a video of. And I'm what? You got to show me, right? So he goes to his phone and he's showing me this video. And my brother-in-law was sitting in his Tesla and he saw the sun. And he saw a video on social media. I'm not sure what social media page that he saw it on, but he saw it on social media. And basically this guy was snapping pictures of the sun. And right before the sun went behind a cloud, he snapped a picture of it and it like looked digitalized, like the glare of the sun, like the reflection of it. You know how there's like a glare of the sun that will show up in the camera? So he said the glare looked digitalized and had like the lines through it like it was an LED sun and not real, right? So he's like, I want to try. He was sitting there thinking about this video and he's like, I want to try that. So he's like, I don't want to sit here and take a bunch of pictures because like I don't have that time. So he just took a really quick video. The video worked. It caught exactly what he wanted it to catch. And he blew my freaking mind when he showed this to me. I'm like, bro, you have to send that to me now so I can put it on my channel and show my subscribers because like, what? This is the craziest video I've ever seen in my whole life. Anyways, I'm going to stop rambling and I'm just going to insert it here so you can check it out. But this was sent to me by my brother-in-law. So all shout outs and, respect goes to him because he's the one who captured this. Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate the hell out of you. But check this out. Look at the glare that this sun is like causing on the reflection of his window and like tell me what you think that is. Crazy. I thought this shit was crazy. I had to share it with you. I know it's not related, but I had to. So here's a little funsies if you stuck around until the end of the video. Anywho, do me a favor and smash the hell out of the like button if you made it this far in the video, and obviously if you enjoyed it. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, then come on over and get subscribed to our channel, and make sure you hit that little bell icon so you get the post notifications every time that I post new videos just like this one. But I'm going to go ahead and hop on out of here. I love you all so much. Take care of each other. Be kind to one another. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!